Welcome in on college football playoff selection day, and you got to see your team not only get their name called in the playoff, but your town, your school, your campus, whatever you want to couch it as, hosting a playoff game. It's the Rebel Report podcast. My name is Michael Borky. Glad that you guys are with me, as you always are, late on this Sunday night. That's obviously what we're going to be talking about tonight. The bracket, the college football playoff bracket is out. No surprise for Ole Miss. You knew that this was coming. You knew that they were hosting this game. But it is a little bit different when your name gets called and you do see it on the final bracket and you are hosting a playoff game and all of the things actually become real. And that is what happened today for Ole Miss. What do you think about the matchup? What do you think about all of this? We will talk about that tonight on this edition of the show. Again, glad that you are here. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not already. Hit that subscribe button. Like, comment, all that good stuff wherever you get your podcast as well. Search Rebel Report and subscribe and leave a rating and a review. Always appreciate you doubling up on the subscription so you never miss a second. Also, this edition is brought to you in part by Toyota of Brookhaven. Check them out online at toyotaofbrookhaven.com. That is the website because you don't want to get stuck just having a car buying experience from somebody just in your backyard out of convenience. It's a big purchase. It's a big process. And you want to do it with somebody that's going to take care of you. And they will do that at Toyota of Brookhaven. Again, exit 40 in Brookhaven. Great in-house financing. New and used selection that can't be beat across the state. Tell them I sent you $1,000 off the top on me. $1,000 off on me. Any in-stock new Toyota of Brookhaven, they will deliver for you. So, Ole Miss remained the number 6 seed in the college football playoff. I obviously was curious to see if the committee would make a change. We saw that they were willing to do so with Miami jumping ahead of Notre Dame. And because that conversation was out there, there was always the kind of, well, the committee can change their mind, or just because they're 6 now doesn't mean they will be 6 on Sunday. Maybe they could have moved up after a loss in the college football playoff, but they were not going to jump ahead of either team in the Big Ten championship, barring a blowout. And I don't think sans Kiffin, they were going to jump Oregon without playing either. I kind of figured if Ole Miss was going to move, it was likely to be backwards. The committee did the right thing. They did not change their mind when it came to Ole Miss and Oregon and Texas A&M and Oklahoma from Tuesday until Sunday, which is, to me, that's the right thing. If a team doesn't play over the weekend, where they are on Tuesday should be where they are on Sunday. However, I do think they corrected a mistake that they made on Tuesday. We'll get to that later. On-field results have to matter to me. That's why anybody discussing Oklahoma being ahead of Ole Miss was just wrong, because the result on the field has to matter. And like we talked about before, there is no sample size to suggest what Ole Miss is going to be like without Lane Kiffin. So in the absence of data, you have to go with results. And the results prove that Ole Miss deserved this 6 seed. I know Texas A&M people are mad that they didn't jump Ole Miss and they're not ahead of Ole Miss, but their metrics are better, slightly better, not by a significant margin. Ole Miss's best win is better. Ole Miss has 2 wins over playoff teams to Texas A&M's 0, and Ole Miss's loss is to number 3, and Texas A&M's loss is also to a non-playoff team. Is absolutely fine that Ole Miss is ranked number 6 ahead of Tulane. But like I said before, and I'll say it again, I'm very happy for the players, especially knowing what we know now about how they feel about how this went down. Anybody, by the way, you should completely tune out anybody that says, well, Ole Miss should have done what was best for the players and let Lane Kiffin continue to coach. Obviously, we know now that is not what the team requested. In fact, they requested quite the opposite. So I'm happy for them to have all this drama behind them, and they can just lock in and focus on themselves and where they've gotten to, and still they can take themselves much farther. And so I'm happy for them that they were rewarded for the season that they had, and they're finally getting the recognition that they deserve. even though the last month and a half has been exclusively focused on whether their coach is going to stay or not. So I'm glad for them that's over. But most importantly, for you guys, those of you that have been lifers or however long you've been fans, there's no doubt that you guys have suffered through bad seasons and heartbreaks more so than a lot of fan bases in the SEC. And if anybody deserves the next couple of weeks that you guys are going to get, it is you guys. I'm extremely, extremely happy for all of you that you get to experience this the right way. No more cloud, no more talk, no more whatever. You just get to spend 2 weeks planning on what you're going to do for the playoffs and celebrating your football team, because playoff football is coming to Oxford, Mississippi. And I am just incredibly happy for all of you that have put your time, your years, your decades, some of you, and all of your hard-earned money into doing whatever you can to do your part to make the program good. And you're getting a reward finally here in a couple of weeks. And I could not be happier for you. I'm going to get nitpicky here. Okay. I'm going to get nitpicky. I know, but the only thing I don't like about this is that we've seen both of Ole Miss's potential matchups before. And look, I know once the game happens and once you get closer, like my tune on this is going to change as well. The tentative plan is for us to do a couple of radio shows from Oxford on Thursday and Friday leading up to the game, somewhere on the square, to be announced later if we can, cross all the T's and dot all the I's on that. So I cannot wait to be there and amongst everybody leading up to it. We did see these two teams play before on this field, and it was a 35-point game. I was hoping that the committee would, or that Virginia would win, and so you could see a different matchup. We've also seen Ole Miss and Georgia play before. I'm a person that likes variety, so I was kind of hoping for a little variety. But this is still an incredible day for Ole Miss, for Oxford, for all of you, for the university and the football program, regardless if you've already seen the opponent or not. So yeah, it's nitpicky. I wish you could have seen some variety, but the atmosphere is going to be unbelievable. And the team's got a challenge on their hands as well. And this is the last thing that we'll get to before I get to your comments, because that's what we're here for, is Ole Miss beat Tulane by what felt like 1 billion points earlier this season. I think in part because athletically, Tulane just could not match up with Ole Miss on the lines of scrimmage. That was the biggest issue. Tulane did not have the bodies that matched up with what Ole Miss was able to present on the lines of scrimmage. And I don't know how much you can fix that from then to now. I do think you're going to get a better shot from Tulane. I think Retzloff can play a lot better. It's obviously a very confident football team. I don't think you're just going to cruise to a 5-touchdown win with ease the way they did last time. I think Ole Miss's advantages are still there, especially on the lines of scrimmage. But I do think you're going to get a better shot from what is obviously a tough and a well-coached Tulane team. For sure. So we'll have a lot of previewing this game and the bracket and all that to do moving forward. But I hope you guys soaked it in today and received and allowed yourself the proper enjoyment of what is a monumental moment for Ole Miss football, regardless of what happened at head coach. So we'll get to your comments after I tell you the podcast is brought to you in part by Toyota. I already told you about them. Advantage Business Systems, absms.com is the website. Advantage Business Systems has you covered. If you're a Mississippi business and you need office technology, anything from copiers and printers and mail machines, cloud storage, data security, IT projects, phone systems, whatever it is, if it's technology and it is in the office and your Mississippi business needs it, absms.com. And tell them I sent you, and you'll get that technology assessment on me. Also, Priority One Bank. They have 16 locations here in Mississippi, so hopefully, likely, there's one in your backyard. They make you their priority every day. I feel it every single day. Every time I walk in there or I need to get something done, it feels special because that's what they do. They treat me special because it's in the name at Priority One Bank. Bank with me at Priority One Bank. All right. Just bought Sugar Bowl tickets. This won't backfire at all. You got to pre-plan for stuff like this, especially when it's New Year's. You're not a jinx. Whatever happens will happen as a result of the players on the field and the coaches, and that is it. So I would plan. I would plan ahead, even though that doesn't mean you're banking on a win. But yeah, going ahead, especially since Georgia doesn't have, they can just go ahead and start planning this, right? You got to get out ahead of it. I think the final score of this game is Ole Miss 28, Tulane 17. It will be a late touchdown to win the game. I think Ole Miss is going to continue to be able to score against this Tulane team. I could be wrong. I think you'll get a better shot, but the disadvantages have not changed. We'll see. Pete Golding must be afraid of the camera or doesn't like making things all about himself, and if he can avoid it, he will. Moscona again taking jabs today about G5 coaches remaining for college football playoff and not Ole Miss. Well, I mean, he's free to do that all he wants. He's a very good broadcaster. And now Lane Kiffin is the head coach at LSU. And who is his audience? It's LSU fans. Of course, he has got to try to compare Ole Miss and LSU situation to Tulane in Florida situation. It's completely disingenuous, and anybody thinking with their brain would tell you that it is. Also, Lane Kiffin conducts himself differently than John Summerall. I would far more trust to John Summerall to be able to balance both duties than I would Lane Kiffin personally. John Summerall's team does not hate the way he handled things. Also, I think that pretending like those are the same things, it's pretending. You don't actually think that those two situations are comparable at all. You have an audience that you have to dance for sometimes, and that's what that is. You don't actually believe that those situations are the same if you think that they are. You got to dance sometimes for your audience. Pete Golding is very open on camera, very real. Yeah, press conference today. I'm thinking about cutting some of that up and playing, doing a special edition for you guys tomorrow, and playing some of the stuff for you because it doesn't make it better or worse. It's just people are different. You've got just a football guy now, a guy that's not gonna be about anything other than football. The personality is going to fit those that have a bit more of an old school mentality, I suppose. But he talked about what's encouraging, and again, I'll play it for you tomorrow. I'll cut it up and I'll do an episode for you guys around what he had to say. But it doesn't sound like he's going to blow everything up. Understands that the systems are what got them there, and getting away from that too much would be a mistake because what they're doing at the present is obviously working. So it was a total contrast in styles, and also another. If you guys needed another, you already heard from the players, you don't need another. You're going to hear from the players more this week and next as well, because they'll have media ops. The people in that building were absolutely fed up with how Lane Kiffin handled it. Again, it's, speaking of disingenuous arguments, is people that are like, oh, you're just now mad or criticizing Lane just now. Not me, for one. I didn't like the way he handled the Florida opening last year at all. I certainly had a lot to say about him in 22. The trolling his own fan base has been a thing he's been doing for a while, and I've been very vocal about that for quite some time. But he left a playoff team essentially a few days ago. So that's a new thing. So you didn't know that was happening the whole time. It's a very, very new and recent thing. So after it went down that way, it is abundantly clear that the players, and now you hear it from staff members, including the now head coach, but also more members of that staff, that they hated the way it went down. They're mad about it. They don't like it, nor should they. And so some of that comes across in that as well. think they'll break an attendance record of 69,000 fans. The student section will have 3,000 more people than was technically allotted for them this season. So I'll admit, when the TV showed the name in the bracket, I shed a tear. Not ashamed to admit it. You shouldn't be. Shouldn't be at all. Uh, sports, your sports team's accomplishing something. If that brings you joy, then man, let it out. Peak Holding is so impressive. Yeah, I'm going to cut a lot of that. If it was a long press conference, too, they're usually only about 8 minutes. This one was over 20. So hit that like button. Yeah, I appreciate that if you don't mind doing that. Matchup couldn't be better for Ole Miss. Golding is able to utilize a previously successful game plan from this year, take a little off his plate. Well, they got 2 weeks to prepare as well. I do also wonder if you're going to see the same trend that you saw last year. The teams that had the long break that were facing a team that did not. It was actually a net negative for those that had the really long break. It was a total net negative. So will that happen in this case as well? Is it actually better for Oregon, for Alabama/Oklahoma, for Ole Miss, for Miami/A&M to play that game as opposed to these teams that have almost a month off? We'll see. But of the rankings and Notre Dame in particular, I don't like that nothing happened and they flipped teams when neither of them played. So on Tuesday, why was Notre Dame ahead of Miami, but on Sunday, Miami ahead of Notre Dame? What changed from Tuesday to now? On the field, tangibly, nothing really changed at all. The conference championships didn't really have any kind of a bearing on resumes and didn't really impact a resume. So why on Tuesday was Notre Dame the right choice? And on Sunday, why was Miami the right choice? I think they ultimately got that part of the decision correct. But why? Why did you wait until Sunday? That is a question that people are asking. I think it's fair to ask, but at least they did get that part right, because I don't care when the game is played. I think it's a bad argument when you say, well, it was the first game of the season. Notre Dame's been better since then. They have, but look at Miami's. The quality of opponent that Notre Dame has played the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season compared to Miami. So Miami's played a more difficult schedule and been equally as impressive over the last few weeks as Notre Dame, who's played a garbage back end of their schedule, number one. So yeah, Notre Dame looks impressive because they've played a bunch of scrubs, is in part why they look so impressive. But number two, okay, well, the game happened a long time ago. So how much do you weigh September games versus November games? And do October games get weighted a little bit more than September games? And so how much? How much does a November win count versus you see where I'm going with this? You can't put weight on a game because of when it happened. That is a bad precedent to set. And you really are asking a room of people that already have a difficult job to have an impossible job by weighing games based on when they happened and doing this. Well, the eye test says, forget the eye test. Records are the same. Resumes are basically the same. And they played each other on a field. So if we're not going to take into account what happened on an actual field in a game between these two teams, if that's not going to carry the most weight, then what the hell's the point of playing the games? What's the point? If we're not going to let that be okay, done. Obviously, resumes are equal or close enough. Records are equal or close enough. They played each other. The team that won the game should be ahead of the team that lost the game. That is a very simple, easy to digest 1 + 1 = 2 scenario. And arguing against that would create such a, forgive my language, earmuffs in the car, a shitstorm of bad decisions as a result of, well, they lost a few weeks ago, but they look better now. Nah, forget that. What happens on the field, regardless of when, has to matter. That has to carry weight. You're worried? Lane talking to Summerall and giving the playbook away. Oh, don't. There's nothing that Lane can tell John Summerall that he doesn't already know about that team. I mean, not really. And I mean, Summerall claimed he and Sumrall claimed he and Pete FaceTimed. I don't know what's up with everybody talking to John Sumrall, but thoughts on State rehiring Arnett and State accepting a bowl bid. Um, the State fans that are mad about hiring Arnett because he, quote, destroyed the program, to me, Hunter, are being really stupid. It'd be different if he did things to actively destroy the program besides not be ready to be a head coach, right? And I know it was complicated. Like, he told Will Rogers about the offense and then went a different direction. I understand that. I know why Will Rogers isn't happy, but not every player gets everything that they want anyway. It'd be different if he was dialing escorts on his university-issued phone and embarrassed it on the way out the door, or left a playoff team, or whatever, right? He just wasn't ready for the job that he accepted under circumstances that, I mean, nobody was prepared for. You don't expect your coach to suddenly pass away. So he accepted a job that he wasn't ready for under unique circumstances, and he wasn't ready for it. But it's not like he tried to burn the program down. He just wasn't ready for the job that he had. He's a good defensive coordinator, and he will do a good job, and he is certainly capable of getting them to be average, and an average defense would have won more games than they lost this year. So I don't understand that. He didn't do anything other than not be ready to be a head coach. It's not like he tried to lose games at Mississippi State. He just wasn't ready for that. I don't like that. Accepting a bowl bid, no, I don't think any 5-7 team should be given the opportunity to play in the postseason. I don't think that they should. However, I do think Mississippi State made the right call by accepting a bowl bid and playing in this game. Mario Taylor needs reps. Him in particular, he needs reps. And a lot of them, and more practices and a full game under his belt, an extra game under his belt would help a lot. And so I don't blame Jeff Lebby. He needs it. Everybody in that program needs more than what they're currently getting. I assume Zach Arnett will be coaching in this game. He should if he's not. And so that'll help get a jump start on that. I think they made the right decision by accepting the bowl bid. It is a little goofy at 5-7 being a bowl team and talking about you're going bowling and doing all that stuff. That's a little goofy to me. It's only a product of other teams saying no. But I would have taken the bid. Absolutely, I would have. A lot of guys need it, and that's no better way to learn than by doing. So, second round draw is going to be difficult regardless. Don't understand why Georgia doesn't move in front of Ohio State. I don't understand either. I know it was a close game, but Georgia won the SEC. Schedule was a lot more difficult than Ohio State's was. I'm not impressed by Ohio State. I know they've got players, elite players all over the field. They just seem just okay. I think Ole Miss goes to the semifinals this year. Georgia looks like they're peaking at the right time, though. How serious are the ACC rumors that allegedly teams are ready to pay the buyout and leave the conference due to how weak it is? McCready said that he's heard four schools may move this offseason. And if 4 go, then the entire league's going to blow up. But I mean, look, if you're one of the power members of the ACC and you look at how this went down, I mean, the league added Stanford and Cal anyway, which never made any sense. And we talked about it both on the radio show and here with you guys, how little sense that made. But that conference is an embarrassment. James Madison got a playoff bid over the ACC champion. It's horrible. The conference championship game was lower quality than the others. The two teams weren't as good as the others. I mean, even little things like this, like the stadium was half full at best, at absolute best, probably less than that. So interest in the league is down. The teams aren't any good. I would want out too, as fast as possible.
What 4 schools could I see leaving the ACC? Clemson, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina. But more than that, I would assume. More than that would have won out. Awesome uniform game coming up. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Ole Miss goes navy, red, gray for this game. Would not be surprised at all. I think Ole Miss will. Tulane will play Ole Miss better than last time, but this is still likely to be a 3-score game. I tend to agree. Imagine a 7-5 team winning your conference. It's the super conference that's the problem. They've added too many teams. It's not the playoff that's the issue. It's that they've added too many teams to the conference, so you have imbalanced schedules in these 18-team leagues. Hope they bring back the powder blue Realtree helmet in the first round, and if they win, go to the Sugar Bowl. You want to see them wear the Sugar Bowl helmets from 2021. I think I liked those helmets fine. I think you're going to see a more traditional look for the playoffs, I think. Texas game have already skyrocketed. I assume they'll go down some during the lead up. I tend to agree also. It's a shame students who had tickets don't get priority for this game. But there's 3,000 additional student tickets, right? And they're on a first come, first serve basis. And since it is break time, I don't think you're going to get every casual student there. It'll be fine. I think if a student wants to go, they'll be able to go with 13,000 available tickets. Hope they don't overlook Tulane. And Lane is a narcissist and wouldn't put it past him to try to hurt and give Summerall some inside info. They won't overlook Tulane, I promise you that. Golding's press conference got you wanting to run through a wall. It doesn't matter if we're playing football or I'm playing tennis against my wife. I'm trying to whoop your ass. Yeah, that was a good line. It's great to see Ole Miss being rewarded in the playoff while Kiffin makes salty tweets and dodges tough questions in Baton Rouge. I would have told him, if I were his agent, I would have told him not to go to College Game Day this past Saturday as well. They very clearly were that they have heard the criticism, especially when they openly acknowledge their representation. Kirk Herbstreit saying he's not repped by CAA when you go to the CAA website, and he is on it, was kind of funny. But they've clearly heard the criticism that they have received for their ties to Jimmy Sexton's agency and all that. And based on the conversation they had Saturday, despite wild hypocrisy from Nick Saban, they were going to actually grill him a little bit, and he can't handle that. And also, the crowd would have been ruthless against him, and he can't handle that either. So I would have told him to stay home and tweet too. He needs to be less visible. The less visible he is, the more this kind of stuff will die down. But if he'd have just showed up on that game day set, it would have been ruthless. And very clearly, as you saw post Egg Bowl and all the stuff leading up to it, the criticism has gotten to him, clearly. So, got to win this game first, but how do we feel about Georgia and New Orleans? Feels like Ole Miss can match them very well. They look much improved, though. Athletically, I mean, Georgia scored on every possession in the last game that they played against each other. I mean, Georgia's got athletes. They're peaking at the right time. I don't know. Let me see what they look like against Tulane first before we start talking about how they have a great shot against Georgia. I'm concerned about Ole Miss's athleticism, especially on the back end of their defense. They need to be a lot more aggressive if they get a shot at Georgia again. I was really hoping Ole Miss would draw Texas Tech because I think they're the most beatable of the top four. Me too. Do you think that he would try to help Kirby beat Ole Miss if that game came to fruition? I mean, how much more? I don't know how much more he can add if he wanted to what Kirby Smart would already figure out on his own. You know what I mean? How much more can he add? Maybe helping with signals, but they're going to be prepared for that. They're going to change things. They should anyway if they haven't. I expect that they will. But we're talking about Kirby Smart and that apparatus at Georgia here. How much more can you add to what their preparation is? What a shocker that Indiana beat Ohio State. That was wild. I'm so happy for Indiana though, man. They matched right up with Ohio State. I'm surprised they were able to do that. Already looking to get things together for the Sugar Bowl trip. I know a lot of people doing the same. Golding is a potty mouth. Yeah. Yeah, that's not going to change either, I don't think. It's a shame Vanderbilt got excluded from all conversations because their name is Vanderbilt. John Summerall's coaching in Oxford in December, just how he drew it up, right? Yeah. He had, I don't know if you saw during his press conference, he had an Ole Miss helmet behind him in his office. And you use an offensive or defensive coordinator interviews. Feel like we need a proven name on offense. I mean, I think that actually, I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you guys. But I know that it's been talked about that John David Baker was in town interviewing. I don't know if that's actually accurate or not. That would make sense. I know that I'm weary of retread hires. Like, would this person be a candidate if they did not have ties to the school is a question I like to ask, but he has gone out on his own, had a top 10 offense this year at East Carolina. And so that is a positive. He would run a similar offense. You wouldn't have to change much, if anything. Wouldn't be surprised if Brian Brown is elevated to just defensive coordinator instead of co-defensive coordinator. Remember, he was Cincinnati's DC when he hopped over to Ole Miss, and now he's been Pete Golding's co-DC. That wouldn't surprise me if he's elevated to that role. I don't know if that's actually going to happen or not. I'm surprised we haven't gotten more news on that, but they very clearly, sorry, this hat's got like two things right here that keep poking me. Blame Richard Cross. He made these. But I don't know if that's going to happen or not yet. I'm surprised we haven't gotten news yet, but playoff is focus number one anyway. Actually, I changed my mind. You're right. The powder helmets, red tops, gray pants. That's what. Yeah. New Year's in NOLA will be insane. Favorite city on earth. No one will give them a chance against Georgia in round 2. I think that's exactly what they want. You know that's exactly what they want. Not sure Ohio State is as invincible as we thought. Sayin is average. He hasn't been tested. That's part of it. Is Nick's going to Memphis with their new coach? I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a hard look from Southern Miss. I saw some Southern Miss outlet put Hugh Freeze on their hot board, and I hope for their sake that doesn't happen. Yeah, I know. Don't forget Lane is also going to a conference rival. No, it's a totally ridiculous, disingenuous argument that anybody making is doing it for a specific reason. Like that there's one reason why they're doing it, and it's not because they actually believe those things to be equal. Could see Oklahoma winning that game just because of that. I think Oklahoma's better than Alabama. He's not going to get fired, but Kalen DeBoer kind of needs to win that game, doesn't he? That is true. 4 buys are better. Oklahoma, Alabama is going to be ugly. I think I like the Sooners though. Alabama's a complete mess on offense, and Venables kind of owns DeBoer. Like a 13-10 final, something like that. I mean, A&M is probably the best round 1 game. I tend to agree. Thoughts on all these teams opting out of bowls? Notre Dame, Iowa State, Kansas State. I understand 5 and 7 teams opting out of bowls. I suppose because you would only get it because of APR. Notre Dame in particular is pathetic, absolutely pathetic. There is no excuse for them opting out of a bowl game. It is as soft as it possibly could be. It would be different if they were undefeated and they got snubbed or whatever. I mean, because the playoff has expanded to 12, it's allowing teams, programs, fan bases like Notre Dame to act like them missing the 12-team playoff is some act of cruel and unusual punishment. They lost 2 games. You shouldn't have lost 2 games. It's really that simple. But I cannot fathom, and I hate that it's not an exclusively negative response to what Notre Dame has done. Some people are actually defending the move. Not a lot of people, but some. It's unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable to sit back and watch an entire football team um, say no to a game getting added to their schedule and the opportunity to play it. A lot of those guys 10, 15, 20 years from now are going to regret saying no. It's I know it's Pollyanna or whatever, but do you know how many people that played football would do anything to go put the pads on and play one more game? You really have an opportunity with your team and for yourself to play one more game and you say no? Oh, well, it's meaningless. I don't care if it's meaningless. I don't care. You're telling me I get to go suit up again with my brothers one more time and go play one more time? And you're telling me that 85 of them all said, I'm good. I don't feel like playing a game. Man, you've got a roster full of players that you probably don't want, to be honest with you. I mean, how soft that is to look at it, the opportunity to play another game with your team. What does that say about your culture and your program that you look at the opportunity, even if it's at Yankee Stadium or on the moon or in the Bahamas, you get to play one more game, and your response collectively is, I'm sad because I got left out of the playoff, so I'm not going to play another game. What about the seniors on that team that are not going to get the opportunity to play at the next level? They're just done because they're sad? That is embarrassing is what that is. And everybody involved in that decision should be embarrassed. Rejecting the opportunity to play one more game. Oh, well, we don't want to give ESPN money, but you bend over backwards for NBC. That's a bad excuse too. It's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment. They should be embarrassed for that. And players on that team will regret it. Maybe not right now, but they will. They absolutely will. The difference between Tuesday and today was BYU. They got rolled, which ended up putting Miami and Notre Dame together directly. It's kind of a cop-out, but it could work with a team between them. It's absolutely a cop-out. Even though Ole Miss draws Georgia, the Sugar Bowl trip is what you wanted the most. Yes, it at least it gives you the best opportunity to have the biggest crowd with you. If Virginia would have won, Notre Dame would be in and Miami would be out. I kind of think you're right. The Arkansas AD has got to go from the committee. Would have liked to see Ole Miss go to the Rose Bowl. That would have been really cool. An extremely expensive trip, though. Pete sounded like Saban on the interview. He does the right thing. That everybody has a thing that, like a verbal crutch. Jeff Lebby's got a handful of them. Each and every day is one that he says too much. Every coach has got one. Pete's is right. He says right all the time. Pete has solidified Ole Miss with how he's carried himself. The locker room is uh-oh. Lost my camera. We'll just do this. I'm not going to mess with that camera again. This looks horrible, but we're just going to go with it. You say LSU on top? On top of what? What, third worst recruiting class in the last 25 years also? Have fun in the Texas Bowl, though. See where Notre Dame made a private agreement with the committee to not be left out again. I can't believe that people agreed to that. I can't believe people agreed to that. Sad how bowl games get more and more ruined every year. So many teams opting out. Coaching changes affect some of that. Yeah, I still can't. Yeah, State got invited to a bowl game. Not enough teams to fill the slots. Some teams said no. Their APR, which is like an academic thing, got them in. In this like the third or fourth time Mississippi State has taken a bowl bid under 500. They've done it a few times. They have done it a few times. Assume when Duke won yesterday, it was the nail in the coffin for the ACC. I agree. Uh-oh. Oh, man. Okay, I'm back. Woo! That was odd. Here we go. Sorry. Okay. Georgia's peaking, a complete team on both sides of the ball. They absolutely are. Although they kind of played like crap in the clean old fashioned hate, though, offensively anyway. The ACC is a horrible TV contract, which teams will have to get a better one even if they leave. Here's the problem that you're running into, though. You look at these other leagues. Is the Big Ten really going to add more teams? Is the SEC really going to add more? And if so, are the television networks going to give them more money to make those additions? I don't know. So him saying he had to stay to get Blake Baker hired was an excuse? Absolutely. The deal was done before Saturday. They have private jets, Marcus. Your coach was afraid of the backlash he was going to get. It's okay. He's an elite football coach. He's going to win a lot of games, but he, as we've learned, he's kind of a baby. It's okay. He is a high-level football coach. He's going to win a lot of games. He's a big old baby. Yeah, Texas Tech started in BYU territory 6 times yesterday. Unbelievable. What about Keith Carter's big announcement? I don't know when that's coming. I have no idea. I don't know what it's about either. Don't think Ole Miss is going to beat Georgia. Best case is maybe a lower scoring version of the first matchup. Could be headed for Georgia versus Indiana. That'd be fun. Can you reach out to Ulysses Bentley to get an interview? I don't think, I could be wrong. I don't think he's going to spill that while in the NFL. I really don't. Do I think Ole Miss is the clear second best team in the SEC? When all things are equal, yes, I do. If Lane wanted to sabotage, he would just tell Charlie Weiss to sabotage, you idiot. No, Charlie Weiss actually has integrity. So, man, you guys are fun. Students had 13,000 tickets all year. Are you sure? I thought they had to cut the number down to 10. I'm fairly certain that there's more than during the season. Yeah, Ohio State's offensive line being what it was is crazy. And all of you ran for more yards than Alabama did. Don't see Vandy opting out of bowl games? No, of course not. Culture. They've got it. How soon do you think we expand to 16 teams? Next year. I think it's going to happen quickly because of how this went down. The calendar argument only applies to like 10 teams a year. Not even really 10. Why would you change the whole landscape of college football? Because teams fire their coach mid-season. I don't think you should accommodate the bad. Coaches used to rarely get fired mid-season. Now it happens every week. This is a newer phenomenon. Yeah, and look, and it doesn't even work either. Penn State fired James Franklin after week 6, and they were the last ones to make a hire. So what's the benefit of getting out ahead of it? Anyway. Then you put 100 teams behind the 8 ball because of a handful of schools firing their coach. Tend to agree. Of course, the committee didn't explain anything about Notre Dame and Miami, just blamed BYU for losing instead. Yeah. The student ticket situation will be a mess on Friday. Yeah, it was preseason too. A lot of people got denied. But I don't think that'll be a concern this time. They're not particularly worried about that, I don't think. So I mean, maybe I'm wrong because a couple of you were like they had 13 all year. I thought they had 13 2 years ago. And then this past season they had to reduce the number for whatever reason. And for the playoffs, they added more. Maybe I'm wrong. Very well could be. Edward, I'm not doing a preview yet, man. No, we'll do that as the week goes. I'll have a lot of guests and stuff like that to preview that game. Do not agree with expanding teams. Should be hard to get into the playoffs. Think we should get rid of the committee and let the rankings be decided on the field like the NFL does. Yeah, but then you're getting into automatic bids. And does the ACC deserve automatic bids? Multiple? What this season should have done is ended the proposal where do you have the 4-4-2-2-1-1. No, that's over now. The ACC does not deserve two teams into a playoff, even one with 16 teams in it. So that should end this. It's obvious that is not what is deserved in this discussion at all. I think we should stop at 12 and stop giving automatic bids altogether. That's what I think we should do. There's always going to be a gripe, but if you finish 13th, you did something that prevented you from finishing 12th. So you got to draw a line somewhere. And I just hope that they stop, but they won't. They won't. So anyway, I got to run, guys. Really appreciate you. Sorry that the camera switched and I'm using my laptop camera and it's a lot worse, but oh well. Got the job done. I will see you guys. I'll probably cut some Pete and play some for you and do that tomorrow because it was pretty darn good. It's just long, but that's okay. And I will I'll see you guys then, and we'll be back live on Tuesday at 9:00. See you guys.